They told you to work hard, save money, retire at 65, and maybe enjoy life in your last years. But what if that's the biggest lie you've been sold? What if financial freedom isn't just about saving pennies, but about mastering the very rules that the wealthy follow? Rules that society never taught you. This is your wake up call. Financial freedom isn't a dream, it's a discipline. And these 7 rules will be the turning point of your life if you're ready to live by them. Most people never achieve financial freedom because they don't truly know what they're aiming for. They have vague wishes like, I want to be rich or I don't want to worry about money, but they lack a defined destination. And that's exactly why they never arrive. You cannot win a game you don't understand, and you cannot achieve a life of freedom without knowing what that freedom looks like for you, down to the details. Clarity isn't just helpful, it's non-negotiable. Financial clarity is about more than just knowing how much money you want. It's about understanding why you want it, when you want it, and what you'll do with it once you have it. When your goals are precise, your actions become focused. When you're vague, your life reflects that fogginess, confused, directionless, and reactive. Imagine trying to drive to a city you've never been to with no map, no GPS, and only a vague idea that it's somewhere north. That's how most people live financially, moving, but getting nowhere. The people who achieve real financial freedom, those who retire young, travel the world, or create impact through wealth. They don't operate like that. They're not just dreamers, they're architects. They design their financial life with precision. They know their numbers. They define their freedom figure. They track their expenses. They know how much passive income they need to replace their job income. And every decision they make is filtered through the lens of that clarity. Here's the truth. If you don't know your freedom number, you're flying blind. Your freedom number is the amount of money you need monthly to live your ideal life without depending on active work, not your survival number, not your current paycheck. Your freedom number. This includes your rent or mortgage, food, transportation, leisure, travel, investing, and personal goals. It reflects the life you want, not just the one you have. Most people never calculate this. They're so busy surviving that they never stop to define what thriving actually looks like. And when you don't have a number to aim for, you have no urgency to take action. You settle. You tell yourself stories like, I'll figure it out later, or one day I'll be free. But freedom doesn't come one day. It comes from today's decisions, compounded over time. Knowing your exact target creates urgency. It ignites purpose. And it awakens a drive that vague wishes never could. Because when you know you need $5,000 a month in passive income to be free, your brain starts working on solutions. When you know your investment gap, your debt to income ratio, or how much more you need to earn, your priorities shift. This is where most people sabotage themselves. They focus only on cutting costs instead of also defining their goals. But clarity is a wealth-building force. When you have clarity, you stop wasting time. You stop buying into distractions. You stop living paycheck to paycheck without a plan. And instead, you begin to reverse, engineer your life around the freedom you want. It also helps you say no. No to impulse spending. No to unnecessary commitments. No to paths that take you away from your vision. Every decision becomes easier when you have a compass. And that compass is built from clarity. Think about it. If your goal is financial independence in 10 years, you now have a timeline, demands strategy. That strategy demands strategy. That strategy demands habits. Those habits create your daily decisions. And those daily decisions, repeated over years, are what lead you straight into the life most people will never taste. Without clarity, effort is scattered. With clarity, effort becomes a laser, and a laser can cut through anything, even the chains that have kept you stuck financially for years. Most people are taught that the path to financial freedom is simply to live below their means. Cut out the coffees, skip the vacations, clip the coupons, and everything will magically fall into place. While there's some truth to managing your expenses, this mindset alone is dangerously incomplete. It keeps you stuck in a scarcity cycle, constantly thinking small, constantly shrinking your world. The truth is, you cannot save your way to wealth. You must grow your way there. Spending less than you earn is the foundation, but it's only the beginning. What truly sets financially free people apart is their obsession with increasing their earning power. Living below your means without increasing those means only takes you so far. It's a defense strategy, and yes, defense matters, but you can't win games on defense alone. You need offense alone. You need a fence. You need to get out of the mentality that income is fixed and that wealth is only for the lucky. Most people stay stuck because they think in terms of limitations. They focus on cutting corners rather than expanding horizons. That's how you end up with people who make $60,000 a year trying to live like they're wealthy by saving every cent, only to realize years later that they've barely moved the needle. The problem isn't always how much you spend. It's that you've stopped thinking about how much you could earn. This is where a shift in mindset becomes critical. You have to stop asking, how can I cut back more? And start asking, how can I earn more? Offer more, serve more, because the truth is money flows to value. The more value you create, the more money you attract. And today, with the internet, freelancing platforms, digital products, and scalable tools, you are living in the most income flexible era in human history, yet people still operate like it's 1980, where your salary defines your ceiling. Not anymore. You can build online businesses, coach, consult, freelance, create content, license skills, invest. Opportunities are endless if you're willing to think and move differently. The wealthy don't just reduce expenses. They obsess over multiplying income streams. They understand that one income is too close to none. They build, they scale, they learn high income skills. They ask how they can charge more, automate more, scale bigger, and add more value to the world. And here's the beautiful part. While increasing income is harder than cutting costs in the short term, it pays you forever. When you cut your expenses, you can only cut so far before you hit a wall. But your earning potential, that's a ceiling you never have to accept. At the same time, spending less than you earn gives you breathing room. It creates the gap that allows investment, growth, and opportunity. It's what keeps you from living paycheck to paycheck. But if you don't, then use that gap to expand your income and invest in your future, you're not building freedom. You're just delaying disaster. It's not about living cheap. It's about living smart. It's about setting up systems that give you room to grow, invest, and eventually detach from needing to trade your time for money. What most people get wrong is thinking that financial freedom is about sacrifice. It's not. It's about optimization. You don't have to live like a monk to build wealth. You just need to be intentional. Buy things you love, not things that impress. Spend on what matters, not on what numbs. Use your savings as a tool, not a destination. Saving alone doesn't set you free. Creating more income while maintaining control over spending does. That's where momentum begins. When you spend less than you earn and then relentlessly seek to expand what you earn, you step into a rhythm that fuels both security and growth. And once that rhythm becomes a lifestyle, freedom becomes inevitable. No matter how much you earn, if you don't know how to manage it, it will slip through your fingers. The truth is, most people don't have an income problem. They have a money management problem. You can give someone a six-figure income and they'll still live paycheck to paycheck if they haven't mastered the discipline of directing their money with purpose. Financial freedom doesn't come from how much you make. It comes from how well you control what you keep, where you allocate it, and how you multiply it over time. Without structure, money becomes chaos, and chaos always leads to loss. Every dollar you earn is a soldier in your financial army. If you don't give your dollars orders, they'll go AWOL. They'll disappear into impulse purchases, forgotten subscriptions, and emotional spending habits. That's why wealthy people treat money differently. They give every dollar a job. They live by budgets not to feel restricted, but to feel empowered. A budget isn't a prison. It's a blueprint. It tells your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And when you begin to manage money with intentionality, you unlock the first layer of financial confidence, the peace of knowing you're in control. Management means you track every dollar, not from a place of fear, but from a place of power. You become a steward, not just a spender. You categorize your income into core areas: needs, wants, investments, and reserves. You create systems where your bills are paid on time, your savings grow automatically, and your investments feed your future. You stop relying on willpower to save and start relying on automation. You remove emotion from the process and replace it with systems. And systems don't lie. They reflect truth, consistency, and long-term vision. When you don't manage money, you invite anxiety. You live reactive, not proactive. You avoid checking your account because you're afraid of what you'll see. You spend blindly and then panic when the rent is due. That emotional roller coaster destroys confidence and keeps you stuck in a cycle of stress. But when you begin to manage every dollar, you shift from chaos to clarity. You sleep better, think clearer, and make better choices. Not because you have more money, but because you know where your money is going. There's also a psychological transformation that happens when you manage money properly. You begin to associate discipline with dignity. You stop seeing money as something that controls you and start seeing it as something you control. You move from victim to leader. And that mindset shift affects every other area of your life: your habits, your goals, your relationships, even your sense of identity. Because managing money well isn't just about numbers. It's about self-respect. It says, I care enough about my future to take control of it today. What most people don't realize is that wealth is often built in silence, not through flashy moves, but through quiet consistency, through weekly budget check-ins, smart spending choices, automated investments, and a refusal to let dollars wander without purpose. It's not sexy. It's not loud, but it's powerful. And over time, it compounds. Because when you manage what you have, life gives you more to manage. It's a principle that shows up in every successful life. Money respects order. And the moment you get serious about managing what you have, you start to create space for what you don't have yet. People who are financially free didn't get there by luck. They got there by discipline. They treat their money with respect. They know their numbers down to the dollar. They check in regularly. They adjust. They course correct. They hold themselves accountable. And as a result, their financial lives are stable, intentional, and growing. When you become the manager of your money instead of its servant, you take the first real step toward total financial independence. Because it's not just about earning more or spending less. It's about mastering the flow of your resources so they serve your goals, not sabotage them. The path to financial freedom demands more than discipline. It demands leverage. And leverage begins with learning how to make your money work for you. Too many people trade time for money their entire lives and never escape the cycle. They wake up early, clock in, work hard, and repeat the process, believing that effort alone will set them free. But effort without strategy is a trap. If your income depends solely on your time, your freedom will always be limited. The moment you stop working, the money stops flowing. That's not freedom. That's a treadmill. True financial independence begins when your money starts earning money on its own. Investing is how wealth is built in every generation. Not by saving alone, not by budgeting alone, but by putting money into vehicles that grow and multiply over time. This is the secret of the financially free. They don't just earn, they invest. They understand that the money they save today can become a money-generating machine tomorrow. And they know that without investment, money loses value due to inflation and missed opportunity. Keeping all your money in a savings account might feel safe, but it's actually one of the riskiest long-term moves you can make. Because while your money sits still, the cost of living keeps rising and your purchasing power silently declines. Smart investors don't chase get-rich quick schemes. They don't gamble. They calculate. They educate themselves. They understand different asset classes, stocks, real estate index funds, mutual funds, REITs, its FFs, and even business investments. They diversify. They manage risk. And most importantly, they start early because time in the market beats timing the market. Compound interest is not just a financial principle. It's a force of nature. When you invest consistently over time, even small amounts grow into substantial wealth. But that growth requires patience, discipline, and vision. The sooner you start, the more powerful it becomes. People often delay investing because they think they need a lot of money to begin. But that's a myth. You don't need thousands to start. You need consistency, even if you begin with $50 a month. The habit is more important than the amount. You're not just building wealth. You're building identity. You're training your brain to think like an investor, not just a consumer. Every dollar you invest is a vote for your future. It's a declaration that you believe in something bigger than today's comfort. And that belief shapes how you live, work, and spend. Investing also shifts your relationship with time. When you invest, you're no longer just working for money. You're planting seeds that will grow even while you sleep. That's what separates financial survivors from financial creators. Survivors hope they'll have enough. Creators design systems that produce more than enough. And every investment you make, whether in stocks, real estate, or business, adds to that system. Over time, those investments begin to pay you without effort. That's how passive income is born. And passive income is the bridge between working for money and living in freedom. But investing isn't just about financial returns. It's about emotional freedom. It gives you peace of mind. It creates options. It protects you against uncertainty. It gives you the ability to say no to jobs you hate, bosses who disrespect you, and environments that drain your soul. It buys back your time, your energy, and your life. And the beauty is anyone can access it. You don't need to be a millionaire to begin. You just need to stop waiting and start acting. The mistake people make is believing that financial freedom is reserved for the lucky or the privileged. But the real difference lies in mindset and consistency. You don't get rich overnight. You get rich slowly, steadily, and intelligently. Through the daily discipline of investing, month after month, year after year, you slowly shift the balance of power from trading time to owning assets. And over time, those assets start to take care of you. Most people chase money, thinking it's the solution to all their problems. They believe if they can just make more, everything else will fall into place. But financial freedom isn't just about how much you make or how much you make or how much you make or how much you understand. If you don't continuously educate yourself financially, you'll always be one bad decision away from losing everything. Money doesn't stay with the unwise. It moves to those who respect it, understand it, and learn how to manage and multiply it with skill. The truth is, financial ignorance is more expensive than any market crash, tax bill, or failed investment. What you don't know will always cost you more than what you do. Education is the armor that protects your wealth. It's the tool that helps you see opportunities others miss and avoid mistakes others make. The financially free are not just lucky, they're learners. They read, listen, ask questions, take courses, and seek mentorship. They stay curious, not arrogant. They understand that the world of money is constantly evolving, and if you stop learning, you fall behind. Tax laws change. Investment strategies shift. Markets move. New tools emerge. And those who are committed to growing their financial intelligence stay ahead while others struggle to catch up. One of the biggest myths about financial education is that it has to be complex or boring. But the reality is, it's never been more accessible or more engaging. Podcasts, YouTube channels, books, online courses, newsletters, communities, there are unlimited resources available for free or low cost. You can learn about budgeting, investing, real estate, crypto, taxes, and entrepreneurship at your own pace, on your own time. There's no excuse in the age of information. The only thing standing between you and financial understanding is willingness. Not everyone will be a financial expert, but everyone must be financially literate if they want lasting freedom. And financial literacy isn't just about knowing how to invest in stocks or calculate compound interest. It's about learning the behaviors, habits, and thought patterns that build wealth. It's understanding the psychology behind money, how emotions influence your spending, how fear and greed drive markets, how your upbringing shaped your beliefs about wealth. It's understanding that being broke isn't just a financial issue. It's a mindset issue. It's a mindset issue. When you educate yourself financially, you start to shift your identity. You no longer see money as a mystery or a monster. You see it as a tool, a servant, a resource to be mastered and directed. The more you learn, the more confident you become. And confidence in money creates better decisions, less stress, and more control. You no longer panic during economic downturns. You pivot. You no longer get overwhelmed by taxes. You plan. You don't fear financial conversations. You lead them because you know what you're doing. And if you don't, you know how to find out. That's the power of education. It removes fear and replaces it with clarity. Financially educated people don't hand their power to others blindly. They don't rely solely on financial advisors, banks, or social media influencers to guide them. They take responsibility. They ask questions. They read the fine print. They understand the difference between assets and liabilities, good debt and bad debt, long-term strategy and short-term hype. They build their future with intention, not assumption, not assumption. And that kind of intentionality can only come from education. When you stop learning, you start losing. Because the financial world doesn't pause, it moves fast, and those who stand still get left behind. That's why the financially free commit to lifelong learning. They treat financial education as a habit, not a phase. They don't just learn enough to get by, they learn enough to get ahead. They learn enough to get ahead. They know that the more they understand, the more they can create, protect, and enjoy. One of the most powerful steps toward financial freedom is learning how to say no, not just to others, but to yourself. The inability to delay gratification is the silent killer of wealth. People sabotage their futures every day for short-term pleasure, a new phone, a spontaneous trip, a designer bag, or an expensive dinner they can't truly afford. They chase moments that feel good now, but cost them later. The truth is, the discipline to delay what you want now for what you want most later is what separates the financially free from the financially frustrated. It's not about deprivation, it's about direction. Delayed gratification isn't about living like a monk or denying yourself joy. It's about prioritizing your values and understanding the power of patience. When you buy things you don't need with money, you haven't earned to impress people who don't care. You trade your financial future for ego. And ego has bankrupted more people than poverty ever has. It whispers lies that say, you deserve this now, or you've earned it, or you'll figure it out later. But financial freedom doesn't respond to emotion. It responds to wisdom. It doesn't care about your impulses. It rewards your vision. People who master delayed gratification understand timing. They know that just because they can afford something doesn't mean they should buy it. They don't live paycheck to paycheck just to maintain a lifestyle. They live intentionally, planning for long-term success. They don't fall into the trap of lifestyle inflation, where every raise, bonus, or windfall is immediately consumed by bigger spending. Instead, they capture that surplus and put it to work, investing it, saving it, multiplying it. That's how wealth is created. Not by making more, but by keeping more and using it wisely. There's a deep strength in resisting the urge to indulge every desire. It creates a sense of inner power when you can look at something you want and choose not to buy it. Not because you can't, but because you won't. You are no longer controlled by money. You are controlling it. That self-control radiates into every area of your life. It sharpens your focus, builds your confidence, and strengthens your identity. You begin to realize that your worth isn't measured by what you wear, drive, or post online. It's measured by your peace, your progress, and your purpose. The culture around us celebrates instant gratification. Hey, scream by now. Pay later and social media floods us with images of curated luxury. It's easy to feel behind or inadequate if you're not constantly spending. But that comparison game is a trap. Most of what people flaunt online is financed by debt and insecurity. And behind the highlight reel are people drowning in stress. The financially free don't follow that script. They think long term. They're willing to be misunderstood today so they can be unbothered tomorrow. They delay the vacation to build the investment. They drive the older car so they can own the property. They skip the party to fund the business. That sacrifice pays off. What most people call discipline is really just decision. It's the decision to want your future more than you want the moment. It's the decision to hold off today to live free tomorrow. And it's not about never enjoying life. It's about enjoying it with freedom instead of fear. When you delay gratification, you give yourself the gift of options. You build a cushion. You create space. And eventually you reach a place where you can buy the things you want, not out of pressure or impulse, but out of true abundance and stability. Mastering delayed gratification also teaches you how to delay reaction. You stop making financial decisions in emotional states, anger, sadness, boredom, stress. You begin to pause, reflect, and think long term. You stop shopping for happiness and start building it from within. And that shift not only protects your money, it protects your peace, because the real reward isn't just financial freedom. It's emotional freedom, the kind that comes from knowing you're no longer a slave to your urges, your ego, or society's expectations. The final step toward true financial freedom is understanding that income has limits, but creativity doesn't. Most people only focus on one stream of income, their job, and place all their financial hopes on that single source. But financial freedom doesn't come from working harder at one thing. It comes from building multiple streams of income that work for you, even when you're not working. It's about expanding your earning potential beyond your paycheck, because no matter how high your salary is, it still ties your wealth to your time. And when your income is tied to your time, your freedom is always limited. Creating multiple income streams doesn't mean you have to start 5 businesses overnight. It means you begin to think like an investor, a builder, a creator. You begin to see that your skills, knowledge, experiences, and interests can all be turned into assets. Maybe it's a side hustle you do on weekends. Maybe it's turning a hobby into a service. Maybe it's investing in dividend, paying stocks or rental properties. Maybe it's writing a book, launching a course, or creating digital products that sell while you sleep. The method doesn't matter as much as the mindset. You have to stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like a producer. The truth is, one income stream is a dangerous position to be in. If that one stream dries up, so does your entire lifestyle. That's not security. That's exposure. But when you have multiple streams, you create a safety net. You create breathing room. You create power. Because even if one stream slows down, others keep flowing. And that flow gives you leverage, the ability to make decisions based on choice, not desperation. It allows you to say no to toxic work environments, lowball offers, and anything that doesn't align with your values or goals, because you're not depending on one thing to survive. Most people underestimate what they can build in a year. They assume creating another income source is too hard, too confusing, or too risky. But the riskiest thing of all is staying dependent on one source in a changing world. Technology is evolving. Industries are shifting. Layoffs happen. Economies dip. And the people who thrive are not always the smartest. They're the most adaptable. They learn new skills, test new ideas, and build new streams brick by brick. They're not afraid to start small because they know that $100 a month from a side hustle can grow into $1,000, then $10,000 and beyond. There's also a hidden benefit in building multiple income streams. It transforms your confidence. When you realize you can create income outside of your job, you start to believe in your own power. You no longer feel trapped or helpless. You feel capable. You feel resourceful. And that feeling fuels you to take even bigger steps. You go from being a consumer of other people's systems to becoming a creator of your own. And in that transformation, financial freedom begins to take root. You don't need to do it all at once. You just need to begin. Pick one idea, one stream, one direction, then pour into it consistently. Learn, adjust, grow. Over time, that stream begins to flow. And once you taste that freedom, the kind that comes from money coming in while you sleep, you'll never go back. you'll start looking at everything in your life differently. Your time, your energy, your skills, they're not just things you spend, they're things you invest. And every investment you make in building new income gives you more control over your future, more resilience in uncertain times, and more joy in your everyday life. Financial freedom isn't about having it all figured out. It's about having enough streams flowing that no one stream can break you. It's about building a life where money supports your dreams instead of deciding them. Where income comes from, your creativity, not just your labor. Where abundance is a result of intention, action, and belief that you were meant for more than trading your entire life for a paycheck. These 7 rules aren't just tips. They're non-negotiables. And they're not for people who wish to be free. They're for willing to live different so they can live free. Clarity, control, ownership, investment, multiplication, mindset, consistency. This is the blueprint. You've tried the normal way. You've seen what it gives you: stress, struggle, survival. Now it's time to break the system, to rewrite your story. No one's coming to save you. Not the government, not your job, not a lucky break. Only you can take the actions that lead to freedom. So ask yourself, how badly do you want it? Because the moment you decide to live by these rules, not just once, but every day, that's the moment your freedom journey begins. This is your path. These are your rules. And freedom is waiting on the other side of your discipline.